morning, Bridge Nation. Welcome to the public eye. We have an open mind. I'm Ronnie Thwaites, and with me is the Honorable Pearnel Charles Sr. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Happy to have you. Happy to have all our listeners in JA and abroad. Today is June 22nd, the hearts of our citizens in Jamaica and all Jamaican lovers broken as crime and violence wreaks havoc on our nation. But we do have hope, you see, and we'll talk about some of the things that have to change as well as some of the things that are doing very well in our country on the public eye today. We talk straight on this program, no slander, no gossip, just facts, as we continue to explore some of the societal problems with an open mind. Always looking for solutions. And you can join us being a part of the Bridge Nation by tuning into the Bridge 99.1 3579 on the FM dial. And also you can watch our live stream. Radio different these days, eh? Something called live stream, not just voice stream. Live stream www.thebridge99fm.com, wherever you are in the world. Follow us on Instagram at the Bridge 99FM and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bridge 99FM. And you can now download the Bridge 99FM app in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. You know, Mr. Charles, let's do 5 minutes of history. My grandchildren, their parents and I had to show them what a radio looks like. Yes. Because they don't know it, you know. They're accustomed to the iPad and they don't even watch television now. They're on the iPad alone that give them everything that they need. So the only time that they hear radio is when they go in the car. Oh. But I have a radio, the kind of radio you and I are accustomed to, yeah? And they look at it as a piece of antiquity. But then it reminds me of a story my father told me. In the early 1930s, he and some friends went down to Monique. And there was a big truck, and it had a massive kind of box in it, container, and suddenly it was connected and started to crackle, and they heard voices coming out of the box. It was something called the precursor to something called ZQI, yes, and the people were so frightened that they stoned them. Because they thought it was some alien species that was coming to South Clarendon. What a way technology has changed our lives, sir.
Well, I thought I had given you an idea, something close to that.
Tell me.
In my community, way up in the hills,
of St. Anne,
in the Dry Harbor Mountain,
yes,
there was a little section where people gather on Saturday night. The community program provided a radio for the whole community.
Yes.
At that shop. I remember we used to listen to Calypso Carnival.
Yes, Calypso Corner. Yeah, man.
Everybody come out to dance.
Right.
That radio was at least 7 feet by 5.
Yeah.
No two men could lift it. And I remember somewhere along the line when it was improved to something from Germany called Pi. Or something like that.
Yeah, man. You're right.
So only one radio for hundreds of people.
Look at that.
And it was a Saturday night carnival just to listen to ZQI.
Yes, man. A man named Dennis Jick and Roy Lawrence and Archie Lindo.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you.
They came on long
after that. Later. But tell me now, nowadays a radio that you can get any station in the world is no bigger than the palm of your hand.
Well, I recall a gentleman saying to me years ago when the radio was probably down to about 12 inches by 9.
Yeah.
And I said, wait, look what it has come to. And he said to me, do you know that one of these days you're going to be carrying it in your breast pocket? I said, what do you mean? He said, there's going to be a pen with an antenna built to it that you could listen to a radio from. And watches.
Watches now have it. Yes, indeed.
You have watches of radio.
So we have to adjust all of our child rearing practices, some of our cultural forms to meet the technological advances, and we are led to wonder what will they be in another 20, 30 years' time.
I said to somebody, I'm very glad that I live to see technology at this developing stage. Yeah. And I said developing because it's continuing.
Yeah.
Do you think what is going to be 10 years from now?
Yeah.
I recall the ship was going to America. The ship would probably take about 3 weeks to go to Australia.
Yeah.
So you just send a letter to Australia.
Yeah. It's a month.
And in America, probably
sure.
2 weeks, Now it takes 10 seconds.
Yes, just touch about the button.
Touch a button, and I recall we discussing this some years ago, and somebody said, you don't have to worry about sending out a document anymore. Yeah. You just send it to New York, and the original document come back to you signed.
Yes.
In 10 seconds.
Yes.
So
revolutionize the practice.
Get to the point you're making. Just last week I was talking to some of my grandchildren. I said, 7 billion people, 6 billion people in the world. Then we probably have about 7 billion telephones.
Yes.
But have 2 and 3. And that's where the communication has improved mostly in the telephone system.
Sure.
Because they have this, when you listen to this and that and this, Google this and this and that.
But hear me now. Have our moral sensibilities, have they improved to match the opportunities for their dissemination? I'm referring to something you and I heard on Tony Rebel Rasperians just now.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was quoting from Emperor Haile Selassie, a wonderful statement about leadership and its humility and example setting. He was also talking about food. Yeah. And, the Rastafarians have a particular approach to food. Yes. But the sad part is that the good nutritional advice that he was giving, which should have been very complimentary in the air to a good Seventh-day Adventist, because I admire your church's dietary suggestions, yes, are way beyond what we do in Jamaica purposely and what we can afford as a people. When he's talking about breadfruit flour and basmati rice, we are way behind in terms of our production. I think of your son. I pray for him because he has to be the evangelist for that kind of transition. As you would have heard me saying, we are spending billions of dollars. The estimate is close to $20 billion a year on feeding school children. Excuse me. But we are feeding them with the wrong stuff. We are feeding them with the product of foreign farmers, and we are warping their health and their tastes and probably their mental capacities with our good money. Pearnel Charles Sr., that is not good.
The truth is this,
that
we are setting them up for health problems in the future.
Thank you, sir.
And when you hear that you're too fat, countrymen will say you sugar have in blood.
Yes.
Because you're going to diabetes.
Sure.
And we the one who feed it.
Yeah. So why we don't stop?
Well, hold on. The more we get a little improve in our economy, we get into that line because we stop do what we used to do. Yeah. In other words, I'm not going to call my mother name this time. Because my sister is saying, well, you don't come out from my mother name.
No, man, your mother name good. The
name point is, Ronnie, when my father, rain come down, when the peas just about turning to dry, and you have to pull it early and pick it, you get all a cursing upon of what you call the seed pop, which means the seed start to grow.
Yes.
When you start to eat pea soup, same thing. Cabbage, even if it's too much, we don't throw away cabbage.
No.
Right? Cabbage, callaloo.
But look how you're healthy.
Well,
No, seriously. No, we like solutions on this program.
yes.
And we're linking with our friends in the diaspora, who many of whom are as much as we are captive to processed food tastes. But I am amazed, not angry today, just amazed at our folly. Almost every advertisement on the television nowadays is either for food that is going to hurt us. Yes? Can't help us. Tastes nice, but it can't help us. Seductive. Or it is to gamble.
Or sex.
Or sex.
Yes.
Which sex is beautiful, but sex has to be ordered for it to be beautiful.
Well, they're not
Not interested in that.
transmitting sex for the beauty.
No.
They're transmitting it for a different
Yes.
reason.
No, sir.
An attraction.
And yet we argue that freedom and commercial advantage require us to tolerate that, not in moderate amounts, but in fact to dominate the commercial scene and to feed our young people with that. And then when they turn out distorted, yes, we say, boy, what are we going to do? We're going to have to do this and do that, or remediate this, or lock up that one. Or we are not thoughtful enough of what we are doing and how we use our freedom. Would you agree with me?
I agree with you, and I want to add a point.
Yeah.
We have stopped eating our fruits.
Yeah.
You go into the country.
Look at outside the station, the mangoes.
Hundreds of mangoes under the ground.
They don't have nothing to do with it. But mango is valuable.
A man said to me, the boss, I can't find nobody if buy me melon them. Look at them just dry up.
Yeah.
Pumpkin dry up. Or pine dry up. I said, brethren, I'm going to steal one of my wife's formula and give you.
Uh-huh.
You have to see if you can buy a thing that crush the thing.
Uh-huh.
And if you want to peel the mango, cut it off, and,
Sure.
You can have mango juice.
Yes, sir.
You can have all of these things. But did you know that cabbage? Cabbage is a healthy food, you know.
Good.
If you talk about me, if you have a big belly and you miss some of my medicine.
Yes, sir.
But when you put on a pot of cabbage, and it's steamed down,
right, sir,
you throw away the water. No, man.
Cabbage water good?
What? It's melt up what's in you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And it softens feces.
Good, I have to go eat some. Drink some.
But
hear me now, sir. So now I'm asking us a question of policy. Why don't we encourage our people to do those things? Why does it have to be the musings of a senior citizen like Pearnel Charles Sr.?
Because we have a problem, Ronnie.
What's the problem?
Tonight.
Why do we make ourselves captive of that which will enslave us?
Watch the news this evening. Both Burger King and KFC are in competition with the nicest piece of chicken meat and sandwich with beef and this and that, and the nice girls eating and this and that. So my countryman said,
but that is a big life.
Hold on, there's not even a Burger King in the country.
No, that more.
There's no KFC down there.
Yes.
Follow me?
A lady in Sablama said...
But him get jealous.
Yes, man.
That is what we are selling to them.
Well, why are we selling the tools of enslavement in the 60th year of our independence, Mr. Charles? That's a question I put to our government. That's a question I put to each one of us, and especially those who have influence and money.
Why are we enslaving our people with unhealthy food?
Yes, sir.
And then you have to find money to build hospitals and to carry them into hospital.
Yeah.
How are we going to? Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
So
we are saying no. We need a revolution in consciousness, and we need leadership in that regard. We are doing what we can here. Yes. Tony Rebel does his part, but these are voices crying in the wilderness when we need some clear positions taken. And I'm especially, before we take the break, I'm especially angry now about school children, because it is during the early years of life that your tastes for food are cultivated, your habits. Yes, and we are giving them the very stuff that we know is not good for them.
That we know,
and yet we say we love them.
That we know somebody has to find money in the future, to build hospitals, get doctors, because they are bound to suffer from diabetes. All of the illness.
We're still pussyfooting about tobacco. Yes.
Fat. They get too fat.
Yes, sir. And liquor, similarly. We promote liquor, and then we have some little grumbling at the end of the advertisement, drink responsibly. Foolishness.
I was having a problem with that. Quick for 10 seconds. I was having a problem because we know that the tobacco is a problem, but we're getting a hell of a tax from it.
But of course we shouldn't take it.
We know that
morals.
All of these things.
Jamaica, you have morals on the public eye. When we come back, we have more for you. 20 minutes after 11 in Jamaica on the public eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM. Pearnel, Charles, and myself are the hosts, and we're welcoming Acting Public Defender of Jamaica. Hello, Mr. Mckenzie. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
Happy to have you, sir, and congratulations on the post you are occupying.
My pleasure. I'm just acting as you rightly say so.
Well, never mind. The acting is the first stage of occupying.
Okay, sir.
Mr. Thwaites is rhyming on it, but the rhyme with the facts.
Indeed. There you are. Mr. Mckenzie, remind our listeners here and abroad, what is the role of the public defender?
The public defender role is actually prescribed by statute, namely the Public Defender Act. And it is to investigate complaints of maladministration against agencies, and these are agencies of the government, ministries, departments, and statutory bodies, or any other private-owned entity, provided the government has at least 51% of the controlling interest. Yeah. And in addition to that, to investigate and protect a violation of human rights that are about to happen, likely to happen, or has happened.
Yeah. Well, if that is your role, Mr. Mckenzie, how do you view the situation now where the ways in which states of emergency in Jamaica have been administered by regulation, law and regulation recently, has now been pronounced upon by the court? Yes. There's an issue of a major issue of human rights. Yes. And also a question of liability. Because for our listeners who haven't followed it, the court has adjudged, not for the first time, that persons who have been wrongly treated in the state of emergency are entitled to be paid large sums of money according to law, paid by whom? Not by those who did it, but we the taxpayers. What's your view, sir?
It's a pity it had to come to that. Before I go on, though, let me just say that this judgment, I strongly suspect, might be appealed. So it might not be the final. We might not have heard the final of that decision. But having said that, it is a pity that it had to come to that, because you and I know, I want to say you, your audience, and your co-host, that the government cannot sit on its hands and do nothing, while we have this plethora of rascal and rogues running around with high-powered weapons shooting at people as if it's a season for big game hunting. But the law having been passed, the police conducted themselves in a certain way, and this is what it has now come to. The public defender, in a submission we made to Parliament after the 2018 States of Emergency in St. James and other parishes, made the very same point in the report, that you can't detain a person for the life of the state of emergency. That is what the powers do. It allows that. And it shouldn't be. But part of the reason, though, too, Mr. Thwaites and Mr. Chair, is actually the way the police do the detention. And let me give you an example. There was the Emergency Powers Review Tribunal set up. For the current state of emergency now in Spanish, I don't know what the composition is. But let's talk about the one in Montego Bay, out of which this case arose. When the Emergency Powers Review Tribunal first sat, there are a number of entities who came before the tribunal to make submissions on whether or not the tribunal had jurisdiction before the minister would have made a detention order for the detainee. And the submission went on for days and days and days. We, the public defender office, we had standing there. And as it turned out, the tribunal ruled that it had no jurisdiction to hear any detention before the minister made the detention order. Well, short of that detention order were made, and they proceeded to hear. And as you would know, subsequent regulations remove that and give the person the right to go before the tribunal as soon as detention they have been detained. So
that doesn't make any difference. Why don't you get? Let me press you further, Mr. Mckenzie, because you could.
I wasn't finished with the point.
Make it then. Go ahead.
Go on.
Well, I'm pointing out to you and to our listeners that even when you go before the review tribunal set up by the state of emergency to review the circumstances, the justification of detention, even when they say release Ronnie Thwaites, yes, the minister can say, to hell with you, I'm going to keep him.
Ronnie, can I disturb both you and Mr. Mckenzie?
Sure.
Overturn that.
Mr. Mckenzie.
Hold on a second, Mr. Mckenzie. Go ahead, Mr.
I'm
Charles.
going to ask you, when you go back to your office, to ask for a file called Pearnel Charles.
Yes.
And you will see that 3 public defenders, 1, 2, 3, including the one that has just retired, has recommended to the government that Pearnel Charles, who spent the longest time, I was taken in on the 5th, and I was not let out until it was over. Everybody who was taken before me came out 3 months, 4 months. Yeah. And they all have recommended, I won't say the source, the amount and the air. Yeah. And neither the JLP government nor the PNP government has done anything about it. Yeah. The last recommendation from this
immediate past.
The one that just passed.
Yeah. Mrs. Harrison Henry.
She hasn't even heard from the Attorney General.
No, she's not going to either. You know why? You know why? Because we are not consistently interested in the freedom of people. What the regulations here, I have them before me in the judgment of the case. Yes, what they do is allow a policeman, a fireman, anybody authorized by the minister, formally or informally, to take you up. Any situation, any citizen of Jamaica. And lock you up, what effectively is for an indefinite period without recourse to the courts. Yes?
That's unfettered power, and that is why the court struck that part.
Well, wait a minute now, and there are those who feel, okay, that's quite all right, because these are criminals, these are murderers. Well, fine, but what you are doing, you see, such people are making anybody, a policeman, a fireman, a minister, politician, anybody, yes, is the determiner of guilt rather than a court. Yes, and to think it is only those who you suspect are murderers or gun criminals. Let me read Regulation 32. The minister, if satisfied, is necessary to do so in order to prevent any person from acting in a manner prejudicial to public safety or public order.
And he's the one who determined what it is.
And Mr. Charles, you personally, yes, it wasn't anything that you did. You never drudge any gun. You never kill anybody, thank God. What you did was, it was considered was prejudicial to public safety. So when you have that breadth of power, yes, when you have that, which is, but it is being pushed further. No, there are those in government who want this to be cemented and to go further, yes, under the guise that they are a lawyer. What kind of lawyer? God knows, yes, because you can't be a lawyer and you don't defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, yeah. Yeah, but here now, are there people in government who are pushing to the wider? What is wrong with you? You don't hear you don't hear the enunciations, you don't hear the statements. So when it may be the person accused, rightly or wrongly, of murder or gun crime today, but then the next week, when Thwaites, maybe not Charles, get up and decide, say, we are going to take a stand on a certain issue on the bridge, yes. Yeah. Or man, you in the...
Man, let's go, sir, your man. Say, you're a Pearnel Charles?
Yeah, man, come.
Go in that car.
Yeah, man. Because don't you just say something that I decide, no court now, I decide is prejudicial to public safety, or somebody with a malicious turn of phrase says what you said on this program here on the 21st of June is prejudicial to life, and therefore life comes before liberty, and therefore I can lock you up without ever taking you before the court.
Ronnie,
and that person is sitting in the cabinet of Jamaica, Pearnel Charles. We are on the verge of fascism.
Hold on, I don't want you to get too vexed. My mother said,
"Why really vexed about my liberty?"
Hold a bit. Let me give you, make you can laugh a little.
That would be nice.
When they locked me up in Halfway Tree.
Yes, sir.
When they took me to Halfway Tree.
Oh, so you were locked up in Halfway Tree first?
Hold on,
of course.
When I was locked, when I was taken to the prison in Halfway Tree,
Yeah.
the prison was full. So the policeman said to them, go in more. They couldn't go in anymore. So he tell me to go in, and him take the iron gate and push me in and lock it. There was a corporal.
My God.
He came up just after the gun and said, Mr. Charles, I'm a senator, you know.
Yes.
Sir Charles.
Oh, you were a senator at the time?
Of course, no matter.
Yeah. He said, I know it hard, but as soon as I'm gone, I'm going to let you out. And if them come back, I'll put you in. So he came about half an hour, and I stood in the corner. That's when I learned to sleep without fall down.
I see.
When you're in a corner, you take one shoulder on one side and one shoulder on one side.
Let me answer this, Mr. Charles.
Just hear the last part.
Wait a minute, Mr.
Hear the last part. When they were coming back in about 2 hours, he pushed me back in. They heard him slam the gate. But so they took me out and took me to camp.
Red fence.
When I reached camp, I was so happy.
Yeah.
I saw a superintendent who I knew very well.
Yeah, okay.
Now, this is a laugh. How are you giving?
Yeah.
I walked in and I said to him, walk on. Him not hearing me.
No. Can't
What
talk to
happened? Him not see me.
No.
Hello. Him not hear me.
No.
And him turn and say, take your clothes off.
I tell you.
So me take off everything, leave my briefcase, go up on that scale and weigh me, and him touch a button and say, take him to number 3. The man was my friend, you know.
Yes.
And him don't see
So
me.
you see what arbitrary behavior.
Yeah, I want to ask
elevated to the point of official action can do to people's souls, to people's act, and that is what we say we need in order to curb crime.
Well, Ronnie, Ronnie, remember who you're talking about, you know. I was a counselor.
No, don't
and
matter.
a senator. Hold on. What about the little guy?
Absolutely, sir.
Who don't even know, they don't even know him last name.
Yes, sir.
Him here never come.
No.
He shower no shoes.
No. So that, but
then if that's what I'm trying to tell you.
yeah.
Mr.
Gone.
Charles.
Yes,
One,
Mr. Mckenzie, your time now.
But just remember my name when you go back and ask my file.
I will. I want to ask you a question, though, but let us admit going on that this sort of thing has continued on both administrations.
So what?
And I'm glad both of you respectable gentlemen
So what?
are part of administration.
Hello, fascism has no political color.
We had this, and sir, let me tell you, Ronnie, don't look like he want to tell you. Ronnie Thwaites and Pearnel Charles' permission to be on the bridge is that there's no PNP and JLP here. We are Jamaicans, and if it lick one, it lick both. I feel them business that.
Good.
Understand? Okay, go ahead now.
I want to ask you this, though, Mr. Charles.
Yes.
In the same case we're talking about recently decided, one of the findings of the court is that the defender, the applicant in this case, Irwine Clare, was not given the reason for his detention. In your case, were you actually given a reason for your detention?
About 3 weeks after I was in the court, they served me on a paper. I don't know if it was backdated, but they say I was detained for X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, but clearly...
there was no paper when I was taken there. I was taken from prison where they charged me for what the thing in Southwest St. Andrew, you know about.
Criminal libel.
From a man who may say is doing things.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
But before you go, though, what was the ultimate outcome of the criminal charge? Because what charge was preferred against you has to be tried and dismissed.
No, hold on. Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can get Ronnie to laugh.
I can tell you.
They took me to court, and a very nice judge was there. So they called the witness. They said, what do you know? He said, sir, me was at a meeting at Sherlock when Mr. Charles come in with a box, a gun, and him give out 25 gun. Right? And Winston Spaulding, who was my attorney, said, how many of you were in there? 25 and me make 26, sir. So you won't never get none of the gun. He said, yes, sir. You jealous about it? Yes, I'm jealous about it. And the judge said to me, you may go. And he added, from whence you came. And every time I see him, from that up to a year ago, we have the big laugh. You may go, Mr. Charles, from whence you came. That is back to detention, you know.
Oh God!
So you you public defender. You are our buttress against that kind of thing. You are our buttress against the manifestation of that which is now becoming worse and worse, more and more pronounced. Yes, aggravated by things like the terrible thing that happened in Clarendon yesterday. Yes, aggravated by the continuing scourge of violence. Yes. But we're going down a road which is going to make things worse, not better. Yes.
If we don't stop.
If a person is charged with an offense, okay, they have a date to go to court. If a person like Pearnel Charles is detained, apart from that one little element of push-your case that you've just told us about, yes, where he's detained, yes, he is not charged, so he doesn't have to be brought before the court. And even if he's taken before the tribunal, yes, if the tribunal say, let Charles go, and the minister say, well, that JLP man, or that PNP man, or that dirty boy, yes, or dirty girl, him stay there. Yeah. Stay there, and you want to tell me that is what we must do to every one of us in order to preserve life?
But Ronnie, what you're saying, you miss a little point of what I said.
Yes.
I was charged and taken to halfway tree.
Yes.
And the judge freed me of the charge.
But you still go back.
And them said, go from whence you came. And I spent 1 year there.
1 year there. Yeah. So
without going to any tribunal.
So when you were charged, you had to go to court. Somebody had to look at the conditions of the circumstances of your detention.
Yes.
When you are not charged after that case, yes, you are there at the pleasure of some policeman or some fireman or some minister, yes? And you were kept there. I was part of it, so I know. You know my position now.
Yes.
You were kept there because of your political affiliation.
Yes.
So when Thwaites or Charles on the bridge, or the bridge itself, is determined by one of those people in their narrow and foolish self-defensiveness.
That you're talking too much.
You're talking too much.
Are you saying something
that you must suffer in Jamaica? Hey, Mr. Mckenzie, you don't realize the importance of your role, you know, sir, and that of your office. You better suit up yourself and start look very, very strongly at what has happened to people. It has happened to over 3,000 people already under the state of emergency.
So, Mr. Mckenzie,
it has not been lost upon us, and we continue to work on it.
Mr. Mckenzie, you are the
acting public defender.
You are the acting public defender.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me tell you something.
Tell me.
If you want to demonstrate, say you're going to be a real acting. The case that the last public defender sent to the former Attorney General, who is bigger minister now, she haven't even answered him.
No.
And I have a copy. Yeah. And I'm coming to see you. You know what I went to the minister that is supposed to take care of it. He said, well, Pearnel, how me going to give you all of this money?
Yeah, sure.
I said, so don't give it to me.
Yeah.
I am establishing for rural children who have no basic school. Yeah. I want it to be sent to basic school in the rural area. Yeah. Don't give me $1 out of it.
Last thing, Mr. Mckenzie, before we break, you see.
Could I just put one question into Mr. Charles before?
Yes, sure.
like Mr. Clark in this case that was just determined, did you actually bring an action against the state and got a judgment with a figure for the sum awarded?
No, you didn't. You didn't do that.
Said that, right?
You didn't bring any case against the government to get damages.
No, I didn't bring the damages, but there were some people who
advocated for you,
who get some money.
Yeah.
And the Attorney General, I'm going to show you the Attorney General letter.
Okay,
In the JLP to another Attorney General in the JLP.
Yeah, no. Listen to this one now, Mr. Mckenzie, before you go. Regulation 38, subsection 6. Okay?
Yes.
This regulation, the judges say, provides that a minister may veto the recommendations of a review tribunal, and there is no requirement for him or her to give any reasons for doing so. This is absolute power in the hands of an individual to deprive a person of his liberty in circumstances where there is no reasonable justification to do so. Now, why is it that the government of Jamaica, now, 2018, time before, any time, why is it that they who espouse freedom and swear to the Constitution would have tolerated that? I regret that I was any part of any administration that would do that.
Ronnie, I'm going to tell you something. I don't regret what I see happening now. Take it easy.
Take it easy about
Don't,
liberty.
hold on.
About
You have a far way. We have a big job. And I notice you're getting too vexed.
No,
That's
man,
cool. That's cool. Let me tell you something.
Tell
Some
me
of mine worse.
Uh-huh.
I was put on an 8-day no food
Look at that.
because I carry on a little demonstration.
In the place.
They had about 8 women in one room.
Yes, sir.
And what you think them give them? 2 buckets without cover.
Yes, sir.
And I carry on one. Babsy was there.
Yeah, and
one demonstration.
sure.
They put me on 8-day bread and water.
Bread and water.
8-day bread and water.
And
I didn't have a problem because I lose 8 pounds.
You can laugh now, but when that happens right now, yes, when that happens right now, when people in detention get beat up because they dare to inquire, or they suffer illness and disease because of the conditions, yes, that is something we need to do in order to protect our lives. We are a people of folly, and I am amazed. But let me call her. Yes, somebody like Minister Grange, who suffered for that. Yes, she can be part of the cabinet now that wants to do the same thing.
Well,
oh my God,
Ronnie,
gentlemen, the saving grace in all of
which
this.
saving grace?
Hold on. Yes, there is.
The court.
Is that? Thank you very much.
Yes.
There's another arm of government that acts as check and balance.
Yes.
There are some countries in which that condition
wouldn't be there.
goes
So
on into perpetuity.
Yes.
So we have that.
Yes. God
that
bless
check
you,
and balance.
Mr. Mckenzie.
Like I said,
Give strength to your arm, sir, and we're grateful for this interview today. You see.
and I'm coming to see you, Mr. Mckenzie, because
Whenever you're
Open
ready
your
for
door.
I'm right here at the service.
Mr. Herbert Mckenzie, the acting public defender of Jamaica on civil liberties. The public eye will soon return. This man in Montego Bay, Mr. Charles, your colleague.
yes,
I don't know if he's your friend.
he's my colleague, and I have to admit that.
Mr. Homer Davis.
Yes,
He's a former policeman, I understand. He is now a minister of government, a minister of state.
Yes.
And he's suggesting that we should have discussions with, or somebody should have discussions with the so-called gangsters.
yes.
And he has now backed away from that.
All right. Let me say this to you, Ronnie. Overlook the legal aspect of it. I needed to say the political part of it is a problem. If we could find somebody...
Sorry, so what is the legal aspect of it?
Well,
If a
the
person...
legal aspect of it is that you can't get a policeman to go and have a discussion with somebody who I'm looking for.
No, if he's looking for the person, the discussion he has is put your hands behind your back.
Hold on.
But that's not what Mr. Davis is suggesting.
But I am not in support of what Mr. Davis says.
Oh, I am.
Although I understand the line that Mr. Davis is trying to do.
Why beat him down?
Mr. Davis would like to see
Make him take back his tongue.
a settlement between the gangs. You can't get the police who is looking for these gangsters, who have warrant for many of them,
Mr. Charles,
to go and sit down and talk to them.
police don't even know who is in the gang.
Well, hold on. if Mr. Davis had said to me, look here, send for Mr. Thwaites, send for some of these churchmen, send for some community leaders who know what is going on in the community and have a talk with them. But you can't expect that the police, first thing, if the police have a meeting with them and tomorrow morning one of them create a problem, police can arrest them.
Why?
But how you going to arrest them and you just don't talk with them?
Sorry, you done wrong. Sorry, my friend. We talked yesterday, but if you are the man who I have information now is robbed the place last night or the night before,
no.
You're coming with me.
No, but you know, after you meet with them, you get some information out of that meeting. What are you going to do?
Same thing.
Arrest him.
Follow the law. Hear my experience, sir.
Yes. Well, you sound as if you support what Mr. Davis is saying.
I do.
You support for the police to meet with the gangsters?
No. First of all, a person who is, you have evidence or strong indication has committed an offense or is about to commit offense, you don't talk to them. You carry them into the station and you bring them under process of law. That is a small fringe of the people who are described by Dr. Chang as being members of or associated with the over 200 gangs. The number increases every time he speaks, especially in St. James. What a pity. That are involved. It is absolutely necessary that for intelligence purposes, for purposes of reconciliation, and for purposes of reconstruction, that there be a connection between or communication between those on the ground, people in a community who may or may not have knowledge of crime or maybe have some intention, and the security forces and the government. I had a situation years ago in Central Kingston where I had a very enlightened community relations police officer, an inspector, I could call his name, yes? And whenever there was a flare-up in a particular section of the community, he would go and he would sit down with persons who had some knowledge of it or who were likely to be susceptible or engaged or drawn into it. And he would be absolutely firm, absolutely clear as to what the right situation was being and what had to be avoided. And it de-escalated situations in multiple instances. The mistake of the police force was that they removed that man and promoted him to some line or administrative duty and robbed the community of who was an agent of peace in uniform.
Yes, but let us go back to a point to make, because this is very serious. A new policeman is in Montego Bay, Secret Superintendent X. And he doesn't know the gang leaders. But remember, if the police know that there are 400 gangs in Jamaica, they must know the 400 leaders.
You're joking. They don't know.
What do you mean?
They just don't know. Come on.
So how they know there are 400 gangs?
That is something I could never tell you, because I don't believe there's any basis for them to count at all. All I can tell you is that, again, from my political and civic experience, only 25 years in a particular inner city community, the police used to tell me that they used to name gangs and multiply gangs that never existed.
Yes, but what the question I'm going to ask you, I'm asking myself.
One commissioner who is still one previous commissioner who won't silence himself as he ought. Yes, he used to speak of this gang and that one and so on. And there was absolutely no indication of any persons involved, any activity. Is something here. Now, I'm not saying all intelligence is that brittle, but I am saying that there is need for not collaboration, not concession, not toleration, not corruption, but rather for engaged communication if you are going to want peace.
Ronnie, I could not object to what you just said, the last part. But how can you achieve that without communication? How can you achieve that without having two people who are at war sitting around the same table? How are you going to control that?
Well, the world has to do that, but it is what Mr. Davis is suggesting, what I endorse, is not when there is a middle of a war. Yes, but as a normal practice of policing, there has to be, the police accept it, you know. The police accept the need for community relations. Who are you going to relate to in a community that is made up of persons who have a tendency towards crime? Who are you going to do?
Ronnie.
And if you and let me pick up on something you said.
Yes.
That you don't go. The police don't go in alone. The police go in with the justice of the peace, with the Tata, with the minister, with the big lady on the street side who everybody respect, whoever it is, you go in there because what you need to do is diffuse. If all you do as police is go in there with your big AK-47, yes, and because you're MP or because you're minister or because your name's Soup, you think that's going to quell the crime?
Yeah, but you just said something that is different from what is out there, you know, Ronnie.
What?
Let me repeat how I understand what you have just said.
Yeah.
Let's take Action X in Jamaica right now, where one gang associated with the PNP, one associated with the JP.
Which area is that? The Assumption in Spanish Town? The One Order and Klansman?
Right, yes. Do you want it? Well, you want to take that one?
Well, I don't know. Is there any other?
Well, hold on. What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't hear of any other.
Well, let's take the one in Spanish Town.
Right.
The leader of the Klansman gang came from my seat.
Oh.
Came and took up residence in Rock River. Mm-hmm. When I heard that he was living there, in 3 weeks, I changed everything that I wear 2 times a day because of who was following him. Well, the military followed him and killed him. You recall? All right. So I started to dress normal. It was psychological fear because I don't even know the man. I have never seen him collect with nobody up there. But he know own a house. So let's go back to something you said a while ago. Yes, Ronnie, if few of the community leaders, the JPs, the pastors, could say go into one section of Westmoreland and say to the community, we want peace in this community.
You can't go in with empty hands, by the way.
Well, hold on. Let's go before that because we go up here so with the whole heap of money and nothing happen.
Which up where, sir?
Up at the university.
Tavern.
Tavern, right? Whole heap of money just up there.
You do the wrong thing anyway.
Well,
that's not our business.
So
only
I
spending
say,
money is important.
if those guys would come and say, Mr. Thwaites, boy, we're not here, we want to get rid of this war, you know. So if we can sit down now.
What Tony Rebel said earlier, give the youth work to do. I told the police, yes, that if I had 200 jobs in the particular area of Central Kingston, the guns would rust. But they couldn't help. And the MP, SCSP at the time, couldn't help. Constituency Development Fund couldn't help.
What could help?
I am proper programs and plans for resocialization and from work. Of course, that is what we must spend national security money on, as well as we spend on tanks and boat and all those things. Pearnel Charles and Ronnie Thwaites on the public eye. Time for the midday break. We'll come back. We'll join Irie Jam and we'll talk to some interesting people in the diaspora. It's all Jamaica. That's what we do. Soon come. This is the public eye and the open mind. Pearnel Charles and myself in Kingston, Jamaica, and Irwine Clare of Irie Jam in New York. Irwine, are you there?
Well, yes, Mr. Thwaites, and I understand you have the chief with you. I was just getting ready to welcome our listeners here in the tri-state area to the Global Connection Hour with our Bridge Nation brothers and sisters, Bridge 99 in Jamaica.
We are happy to have you join us. We are concerned about all of the affairs that touch the lives of Jamaicans here and anywhere, and we're pleased to know that our reach is extending. I'm told that the Beat 103 in England is broadcasting our programs from time to time, and remember the programs we were doing on a Sunday, they're being rebroadcast. Yes. So we're happy for the connection and most elated at your link today, Irwine. What's on your mind?
And Irwine, can you give us a chance to say happy past Father's Day to our Jamaican men over there, particularly those who have fathered all of Jamaica. and say hi to Jamaicans. And
Yes.
you know, Irwin, I have a whole heap of cousins over there, you know.
Right.
You know that, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I must say, Mr. Charles fathered Jamaica in more ways than one, because apart from the biological relationship, there's so many of us in the diaspora who on a daily basis look out for our children in Jamaica, and we do so with a great deal of interest. And I also have to make a big shout out now to all the fathers and all the parents, in fact, in the diaspora who still looks at our children in Jamaica as theirs, as ours, and
Really
that's what
grateful.
this is all about.
Millions and millions of dollars, US dollars, are coming annually for the purposes of supporting schoolers, and that is a lifeline that we can't do without.
And there's some of them, Irwin, that they father a whole community.
Yeah.
Indeed.
They say, listen, man, I come from red ground,
Yes.
and everybody have to get a gene, everybody have to get and they say, telephone, no, I mean,
You know what I
Yeah,
came
all of
across,
that.
gentlemen?
Yes.
That it is interesting to report. I came across 2 wills from deceased Jamaican men, and in the wills, separate people, they had made provision that the residue of their estate in one and a certain provision in the other should be made available to fund educational opportunities in this or that community. So dead left is powerful too,
Yeah.
Indeed.
But it indicated to me a spirit, an enduring spirit of connection, which is highly, highly commendable.
Indeed, and that is why we are in a state of mourning when we heard of the heinous crime that was committed yesterday in Clarendon.
Of course.
And I tell you, this is something that we seem to just find bottoms after rock bottoms after rock bottoms to dig deeper. What has happened to us? What are we doing to ourselves? And this is not something where we're gonna blame any crime situation. This is something where it's family we're talking about now. Domestic challenges. Policemen can't be in families' homes and in their households every day to police them. Why are we like that to each other?
Well, nobody has a replete answer, Irwine Clare and your listeners. But I believe that if we took more care in early socialization, in parenting, and if we had a constructive attitude towards the use of mind-altering substances, whether it is drugs or weed or liquor or whatever else is going to twist up your head and make you prone to violence, I really believe this could make a difference,
Could I add one, Ronnie?
Yes,
Because I have seen it, I've experienced it,
sure.
that the elder people in communities have to start taking back that community responsibility. The young children no longer respect Miss Ivy, Miss Brown, Miss this, because they can cuss anybody before her, use any kind of words. You follow me?
I know nothing. Yeah.
And you say, you don't say the lady, I know nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So parents is not only those who have produced you, but those who have cultured you in your community. And children have respected them, and we have to now call on those community leaders to start to do a little more for us.
But Irwine Clare, there's a philosophical theme that I'm commending to you. We and people in the United States and elsewhere, we must stop using freedom to enslave ourselves. Wonder if you're following me. We use our freedom of speech, we use our freedom of association, all of the rights that we say we have, which I want to treasure, not to demean like the government wants to do. Yes, but I want to enhance them, but they must be enhanced in a context of freedom, so that the youth on the street does not say to Miss Mary, I am free, therefore I can cuss, and it I know nothing. You follow me?
Indeed. Abusive freedom. Yeah, abusive freedom. Abusive freedom.
My
Yes,
freedom
you're
is
right.
to express myself sexually. Does not mean that I must take advantage of woman or demean fatherhood by just spewing seed and get pick-me and don't take care of them. Yes,
in
all of these things, but these things don't happen by themselves. It is a process of acculturation. It is a process of setting standards. It is a process of being clear what you're doing. Instead of which we always just revert when we are scandalized to repression, to the reduction of freedom rather than its responsible exercise.
Yeah, but Ronnie,
that's what
you're talking about the conclusion.
Yeah.
Now, between the introduction and the conclusion is where I want you to take a look.
Yeah, sure.
That's where the problem is.
It is.
Follow me? That's where the children don't have no leadership.
No.
That's where the young man don't have no work.
Yeah.
That's why the young man have no respect for nobody.
Yeah, well, you know my position. I don't wish to be fatalistic, but my position, Irwine Clare, is that the present political economy of Jamaica makes it unlikely that those things will ever be restored, that they would ever be made up.
And
But then, Ronnie, sorry,
but
if
go
that
ahead,
is if that is so, you cannot just hug up that conclusion.
No, you can't. That's why.
That conclusion is nice.
No,
but the introduction
it's distressing.
and
nice at all.
the building of it. You walk. Sorry, coming to you, Irwin. I run into your farmer constituency, and you know, every time I go down there, I have an experience. And a amount of young boys I see playing football one evening. I wonder where them come from, where them sleep,
Sure. And
where them eat.
And where they work. They don't work.
Work? They don't work.
Yeah.
So
what's the
conclusion? What's the conclusion of that?
They must.
But you know, gentlemen, and this is interesting because both of you served in Parliament for several years,
yes.
And many in our society would have looked to both you gentlemen to that middle piece, because that's really our leadership's responsibility, and this is not to say that there has not been contribution to it, but obviously we still have not yet arrived. And so we have to continue to keep our feet on the accelerator. We have to continue to encourage. We have to continue to facilitate, to provide the services, to think outside the box. In fact, think as if there's no box. We have to find solutions. But at the same time, be inclusive, because the solution we're finding for the very same people, we can't allow them to be sitting and looking. We have to make sure that they're part of it. They feel vested. And when people are vested in something, I believe there is an aspiration to work towards that end, and the end can only be beneficial. But gentlemen, I understand our guests are waiting, and I think these are two other young. Yes. They're two young people who are putting themselves in that space. And we're talking about the space of political leadership. You know, just before I bring them on, just to share with our listeners, both in Jamaica and in the tri-state area, the 2020 census was not a good result for persons in our community. And I say our communities where many large immigrant population are, population of color, because the census is a count of the population every 10 years to determine how resources are distributed, and within that framework, how political seats, whether it be congressional seats, assemblymatic seats, councilmatic seats, all of those seats, how they're distributed. If we lose population, we lose seats. When we lose seats, we lose the ability to bring home more resources to our community. And so we find that in New York, I think we lost probably 2 congressional seats, and that's really caused it has really upset the political chart somewhat. However, we have 2 persons online, one who bears the name that is quite popular to us here in Jamaica and to Jamaicans in the diaspora. And the first one, his name is Nickolas A. Perry. People may say, whoa, hold on, who is that? Well, this is the little Nickolas A. Perry, and was born and raised in the 58th Assembly District in Brooklyn. He's the son of U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica and former Assemblyman N. Nick Perry. Nickolas attended St. Therese Lexus Mid High School in Brooklyn and graduated from Medgar Evers College. He concentrated on social behavioral sciences, which prepared him to be a change agent in his community. Nickolas has worked in constituent services, advocating for members of Brooklyn and New York City. Well, gentlemen, he has thrown his hat in the ring to say that, following his father's footsteps. And so we want to welcome him to this Global Connect, and we say good evening, Mr. Perry.
Mr. Clare, how are you?
I am quite well, quite well. Welcome. He's also joined, gentlemen, by the young miss who has stepped into the Assemblymatic district vacated by our now ambassador here in Jamaica, U.S. ambassador in Jamaica, Miss Monique Chandler-Waterman, who's running to be the next assembly member for the 58th Assembly District. And I must say that Nickolas is running for committee chairperson, state committee chairperson, which we'll find out what that is all about in a minute. Miss Waterman, who I must tell you is of Bajan and Jamaican parentage, and is a lifelong resident of the district of the 58th, which includes East Flatbush, Narcisse, Brownsville communities, large swath of Caribbean communities. Elections are next week. They are our guests today in the Global Connect as we connect with the diaspora and Jamaica. Welcome, Mrs. Waterman.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us on.
Great. And you see, Mr. Thwaites, when we talk about the middle, and again, Mr. Charles, these are two young people who are putting themselves in the middle. And in the middle is where things happen. I'd like to ask Nick just to share with Lex. We call him Lex, by the way, for the purposes of differentiating him from the ambassador. Share with us the role that you are now running for, what is it, and the implications as it relates to the whole political structures there in Brooklyn and in the state of New York.
Before he answers, Mr. Perry, you face favor, you know.
Okay.
You know what that means, right?
Yes.
Your parents came to church at Holy Trinity Cathedral, near to your father's school 2 weeks ago. Right. I was pleased to meet them. So I'm very pleased to meet the son, and even happier, both Pearnel, Charles, and I, that you should be throwing in your hat for political office. Do tell us what is the nature of this post.
Before you tell us, because Ronnie come in and steal my thing. Your father and I
used in the union
together in the union, and I know
which union?
His
BITU.
Really?
Yes.
I know his contribution to the people of Jamaica as a trade unionist. So you say you're not better than me.
No.
I knew that was coming.
Okay, Mr.
Yes, go ahead, Lex.
Tell us, because we are interested in people who are going to help us in that middle situation that we're talking about.
Okay, most definitely. Before I start, I'd also like to recognize the third member of the team. She also joined in. Her name is Mercedes Narcisse, City Councilwoman Mercedes Narcisse. Okay. She's also the female counterpart. The position that I'm running for is called Member of State Committee, right? And the Member of State Committee, the Assembly person, there are two seats that support the Assembly person in their role, Monique Chandler-Waterman. And then there's a male and a female, right? So I'm the male, Nickolas Perry, and the female is Mercedes Narcisse. Mercedes Narcisse, can you say hi?
Is she on? I'm not certain she's on yet.
Hi.
Is she? Oh, hi.
Hi,
she
everyone.
is. Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice
Happy to be here, and listening to you is a pleasure.
Good.
And I must say this now. When we talk about the Caribbean, we talk about representation here. We talk about a Bajan, a Jamaican, and a Haitian. So you can understand the mixture. Boy. All right? Go ahead, Lex. You were saying.
All right. So district leaders. So what the district leaders, member of state committees do in Brooklyn, we vote on Democratic Party leadership. We also choose local judicial candidates, right? We also do organizing, right, for staffing for the poll sites. That's one of the large roles. We influence policies for the local democratic structure and function. And we also participate as members of the State Democratic Party and select Democratic National Committee members. But most importantly, we are supposed to hold up the values and of honor and integrity and do everything to promote democracy, right? A fair democracy to everyone in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Indeed.
Important.
And the same. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ronnie.
You ask your question just before.
Yeah, I was just saying that the same goes for both sides. Here we have a male and a female version, and these are two very, very powerful positions. And let's also put something in perspective too for the benefit of our listeners. There was a time, and I don't know how it is today, but there was a time, gentlemen and ladies, when Brooklyn Democratic Party was the, one would say, the powerhouse in the nation, in the 58 states of the United States. That's how powerful, that's a history from whence these folks who are seeking representation now comes from. It's a strong Democratic bastion of support there based in the United States. So I think we're going to take a break now, Ronnie.
Yes, we're taking a break. Coming back, interesting the discussion. The only place you're going to have it with the combination of the Bridge 99 in Jamaica and Irie Jam in New York City. Talking Jamaican interests, West Indian, Caribbean concerns. Soon come.
Welcome back to the Global Connection here in Irie Jam, simulcasting the Bridge 99 FM in Jamaica with Chief Pearnel Charles and Ronnie Thwaites. We have a very special presentation here today because it's election time in New York City. Next Tuesday's election. Make sure in the Democratic primaries, so make sure you all go out and exercise your franchise. And of course, waiting to join Ronnie and Mr. Charles. We have guests online, including Nickolas A running for statewide office, which is the chairperson, and then we also have Mercedes Narcisse, and we as well as Miss Monique Chandler-Waterman, who is running for the 58th Assemblymatic District in Brooklyn, waiting to join our partners in Jamaica. Ronnie?
Yeah, we're here and we're anxious because what Nick Perry's statement indicated is the depth of the democracy. Now, can you explain to me what maybe Monique or Mercedes can do? What is the role of the assembly person? How does this partnership of which Nick Perry spoke of, how does that work in practice?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting us on. So I'm Assemblywoman Monique Chandler-Waterman. I just recently won the election, replaced our former Assemblymember, now Youth Ambassador to Jamaica, Nick Perry. So in the role of assembly, you basically making legislation, making sure you deal with constituent concerns and complaints. They say it's a part-time job. From January to June, we go to Albany 4 days a week, and we not only make legislation for our district, but the state, New York State itself. So legislation and constituent services and making sure we address the needs of our community members.
Okay.
Monique, I can notice here that you are interested in community, helping young people, and
Yes.
and you're well. I think that Ronnie might allow me to talk to some of our Jamaicans who are listening and say, with this portfolio that you're putting here, we want to hear Irie Jam saying you are successfully selected or elected to your post.
Yes, and I'm glad to say I'm the first Black woman to hold a seat. And my mom is from Barbados and my father's from Jamaica.
Well, no.
My family's from Hanover,
What a
Green
mixture.
Island.
What a mixture.
No, that's great. And
I have a nice mixture. But yes, I have 4 children, 20, 19, 16, and 14 years old. I started out with doing 24-hour daycare, organizing Block Association. I'm also an educator, taught at multiple schools throughout the district, and I've been fighting for the past 2 decades to reduce gun violence, have a nonprofit I co-founded with my husband, and provide wraparound services holistically for the whole entire family. So I've been boots to the ground, grassroots in my community, born and raised in the heart of District 58 in East Flatbush, Brooklyn.
Excellent. Well merited as a candidate.
Indeed.
You have to go to Albany from New York City 4 days a week and then come back and service your constituency. My goodness, that's arduous.
Yes. And that's what the Honorable Ambassador Nick Perry did for 30 years. So,
Yeah, a lot of mileage. Lots of mileage.
Yes, he managed it well.
Maybe we can ask Mercedes to put in perspective for it, because this time around the politics in Brooklyn has taken on a different flavor. Not that it has never been flavorful in Brooklyn. This slate of candidacy is not necessarily supported by the machinery. Am I correct in making that statement, Mercedes?
You're absolutely correct. Because this time around, more than ever, we realize what's going on in our community, and the former assembly member, which is U.S. ambassador to Jamaica now, realize it, that there's an importance to serve the community, not individual self. And they're not going to be supportive because we want to address the inequities that most of them not addressing. It's about power, but for us, it's about working. Just like Monique, I have 4 children.
Wow.
And raised in Brooklyn. I came to the US for high school, and I've been working ever since. And you know that when Jamaican and Haitian put themselves together, what we get.
Yes, miss.
Bookmen back in the days.
Indeed, dirty bookman.
we get freedom.
Yes. Yes.
Right, indeed. Let me ask. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Charles.
No, it wasn't.
No, Ronnie, you're going.
No, I'm loving the combination, and I think for our Jamaican listeners, we need to make it clear, make the point that the distances that we allow to divide us in the Caribbean are erased once you get into the environment of the United States. Yes, and that is a lesson for us, that we must stop this ism and schism and follow the example of look at the 3 of you that are speaking to us today. All United States citizens, but all with roots in the Caribbean, and you're not making any distinctions between who is half Bajan and who is 3/4 Haitian or Jamaican.
Not at all.
And this is where I throw back in Lex into this, because when we look at the makeup of even city council today, that is largely a majority women, and when you 31. Should look at when you look at where they're coming from, is a large cross section of Caribbean national with
Excellent.
Caribbean roots.
Good.
No, this does not say, and this is what I think Mercedes was heading towards. This does not say now, gentlemen, that we all march the same tune. Because even as we speak in Brooklyn, the head of the Brooklyn Democratic Party is of Haitian descent, but not necessarily coalescing the whole Caribbean community. So therein lies also the conundrum of political maneuverism, Pearnel Charles.
Yes, sir.
You don't mash it up here.
Hey, look, you're trying to invite me back into active politics, but I'll come and work with you in Brooklyn, you know.
Well, especially with the ladies. Listen to me. The beg you don't mash it up, though, because 2 things that I've heard that I want to question you on. One is the statement that perhaps there's not quite a united front in the candidates who we are interviewing. And secondly, why has the very important prominent place of Democrats in Brooklyn and in New York State, why is that weakened? Why is that not what it used to be?
Go ahead.
It's listen, when we have leaders in the community and they're operating with a personal agenda, that's where corruption starts in government, right? Government was created to serve the people, right? People pay taxes, right? And then so we have our leaders that are elected, we expect them to serve. But when leaders get elected and they come into office with a personal agenda only to uplift people that are around them and people who only serve them, that is where the flaws in government start. We're trying to do everything to prevent that from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Clear view, and that's a statement that's universal, you know.
Yes, it's supposed to be a government for the people, run by the people. And I don't know if you know a little history about myself, how I got elected.
Please tell me.
I'm the first Black female Haitian to be elected in the 46th district. Never a Black person, never a female before. And that was the machine that we're talking about, the big leader, the Democratic leader of the town of Brooklyn. I was able to take them on, and thank God to the support of former assembly member. Understood my mission, my vision is to see equity throughout the community in government as well. And as a city council member, they were saying I could not deliver. Guess what? I deliver much more than they ever deliver, because we deliver, we bring the bacon home just like everybody else, or even better. When you elect women, we have the holistic approach too. And that's why we love Lex, because Lex understand the mission just like his father, that we can work together and deliver for the people of Brooklyn.
Right, equal rights. Opportunities.
And that's why this team is so powerful to have, because we are for the people. The power is in the people. We are a united front, and we are serving the people. And that's the legacy that the former assembly member is bestowed onto the community, and we're going to continue building on that. I won the Democratic line by my county committee members who are peers that work with me and know the work I've done. So the Democratic Party, they like you said, they didn't support, but we had the Democratic line. So this is to show you that why we need great leadership and people to vote, to come out and vote, because we need to make sure we get great leaders in that represent the people, not their own personal agendas.
And I must tell you this too, that one of the things that is interesting here is that this is a Democratic primary. After the primary is over, ladies and gentlemen, it's about the party. And that's what's unique here, because there's an opportunity to pivot from the internal party squabble and then put on the united front when they come to the general election, because that's where now the rubber really hits the road. But as it is right now, there is a selection process within the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Via its primaries next Tuesday. And so we're encouraging folks who are registered as Democrats throughout New York State to go out and exercise their franchise, because normally when a Democrat wins in areas such as these, it's a show-in for the general election. So this is really where the rubber hits the road.
And then when you have great leadership supporting, that's always great. We have Omar Boucher from Jamaica,
really?
Born in Jamaica. That's helping us out to the process as well.
Well, that's very good to hear. We love to see how you're thriving abroad. Let me ask you this broad question to all of us today. We in Jamaica, looking over the transoms of American politics, and particularly the areas that the Caribbean people have moved to in abundance, we have the feeling that liberal politics, progressive politics, is under threat, is on the wane almost, and that you're being overtaken by currents, tsunamis of reaction that appear to be stronger and stronger. Is that a fair pessimism, or am I unduly depressed today? Tell me, somebody, give me hope.
Well, Ronnie, let's start at home. I think that you came here today with a serious concern.
Yeah.
Right here in Jamaica.
Yeah.
We have the social concern, we have the current concern, we have the crime concern, and to put it all, for 5 people to be killed in one home, including a 1.5-year baby.
Yeah. Desperately bad. We hardly want to broadcast it, but it's a reality.
It's very hard. And we are fortunate now. We have 2 young people before us who are of Jamaican descent.
Caribbean descent.
And they're preparing themselves for service to not only Jamaicans and the Caribbean, but to Americans.
Well,
and I think Irie Jam has done a good thing to put them before us, to give us an opportunity to make an appeal on their behalf.
For the voters to come out.
That's right.
Indeed.
But I want to ask Irwine, is the state politics that we're talking about today, is it lurching rightwards, or has it still got a good liberal core?
It still has a good liberal core. I think what has happened, though, when you look at what has transpired over the last 5 to 6 years in how the world has shifted as a result of the ascension of the 45th president, you see that many folks who were silent before have become emboldened. And this sense of emboldenedness has created a whole new slew of opportunities for persons who normally one would have believed was coalescing to the norms are now almost fringes. And it has really muddied the situation to the extent where you find that there are some places that I choose not to go in New York.
Well,
because I understand the circumstances.
I think I need to tell you, Lex, Mercedes, Monique, that we in Jamaica, we in the Caribbean, look to the United States as a beacon of progressive politics and improved social and economic order. But when we have been looking at the January the 6th hearings over the past little while, those people and that tendency, they don't have anything to tell us,
No, not at all.
Well,
oh my God!
Not only they don't have anything to tell us, But they used to criticize us for that sort of thing happening outside of America.
Mercy.
To some of our leftist countries and even some of their friends.
Yeah.
And they put governments out of power for that.
I know, and I know you hear of the president himself engaging this. I beg you. I hope you guys are the breath of fresh air that's going to be the antidote as wide as possible, as deep as you can for that, against that kind of thing.
Monique.
No, definitely.
What a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility, but it has to be about it. One of the biggest things that we focus on is educating our community members.
Really?
So we have monthly meetings where we make sure they understand how to hold us accountable. What is my job as an elected official? What am I supposed to do? How can you utilize me? How am I supposed to bring resources to you? And then what legislation do we need to make? We need to make sure we don't legislate against ourselves as well. So you have to make sure the community members are involved in the process. So that's something, a great job with the district leader. We have a club called RACDEM, Real Action Community Democrats, that was founded by Nick Perry. So we make sure we keep that alive by education and making sure our community members really understand the process. The more we change the mindset and get people more civically engaged in our community, is that they understand their rights and they understand that they have the voice, and we need to give them the mic. And the mic is electing great people to do the job and great leaders to make sure that they know that the power is in the people, not in a title.
All right, gentlemen, we have to take a break, an international break now. But, this conversation here is of critical importance, especially those in the tri-state area. And for folks listening in Jamaica here, to encourage their loved ones in the tri-state area.
To come out and vote.
In fact, in the whole United States, where there are primaries, go out and vote, especially in New York State, because there's a diabolical link. It's very important.
What we'd like to hear from you when we return, though, before we conclude, is what are some of the issues that are facing Caribbean people in the tri-state area, people who are going to be represented by Lex and Monique and Mercedes. Tell us what are some of their burning concerns. We'd be glad to hear that. This is the Public Eye. This is Irie Jam. We soon come. This is the global connection between the tri-state area and Jamaica. Irwine Clare is leading the discourse, marshalling three interesting young politicians. Want to know, Pearnel and I and our Jamaican listeners, we want to know, what are the big issues that your constituents are facing?
For me, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. For me, as a council member in the Caribbean, most populated one, from Jamaican to Trinidadian to Haitian. It's immigration status, they don't have, some of them, they don't have their papers, or they're not being engaged in the process. And one of the things that we were able to do in the city council level, to the first time ever, to allocated money for immigration, to address all the organization that needs support, to give the support system there. And then we have another problem, has to do with childcare. Folks that just come to the country, don't have their papers, and they cannot get access to childcare. We put allocated money. The first time ever, we put $10 million. That's a start. Wow. And other things that we see is just to get to understand the process of how they can use elected officials' office for the best of their interests, whether it's resources, how to access that. And that's one of the things that I take very proudly to say that we put money on that. In my office, we're able to have a lot of organization. I even have CUNY to come in my office to provide immigration support, to provide any housing support. And those are the things that we need to work together. And that's the reason that we're running for office. We're running for office to change people's lives. We cannot do politics as usual.
What about
thank you.
What about advanced education for black people? When I was in New York at City College, they had sent out people into the state to search for young, black, intelligent who were looking to come to university.
And to give them the opportunity. What's the situation?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We just did too. We put money in higher education. And I don't know if you know Mega Everest, that's one of the uni that we have that have a lot of black folks, mostly majority is black folks in there. We make sure we put all the support. Me personally, not only citywide, we put funding there. Me personally, I put money there, and I encourage a lot because I'm part of budget and negotiation. I was able to encourage a lot of other city council members to support Black CUNY, especially Mega Evers. That's where most of our folks goes. And we're looking forward to serve the city at large for higher education. And right now, I'm encouraging everyone, and even I spoke to the governor about seeking the bright and the brightest, because right now we have shortage for nursing. And that's where we should go. Encouraging the young folks throughout the city, say how we can get you in healthcare. And one of the things I believe in, if you give them opportunity the right way by supporting housing, give them apartment, give them the fare card, give them the food, they will be easier in childcare. That's why we having money to put in to have childcare support within the CUNY system. So we're trying very hard, and I'm open for ideas because this is what the city, we can make the city work for us. And that's the reason I ran for office. And I'm very proud to say today, they can say, you can Google me and see the amount of work that I've been able to do in 5 months. Is to looking for equity for all in New York City and in my district.
Irie, I'm sure you have a message from a lot of people saying, we are listening to this young lady and we are going to vote for her.
Indeed. No, Monique, of course, the other aspect in the Caribbean community has to do with our small businesses, because Caribbean people largely generate their resources and support jobs through small businesses. What are the plans there?
So in our district is over 90% Caribbean immigrants, right? Black and brown in our community. We're one of the largest districts that have that. So I would say the small businesses, I started with a 24-hour daycare, which is a small business, and we struggle a lot. And there's a lot of vendors too, street vendors that we have in our district that need support as well. So what we were doing, of course, because of the pandemic, highlighted a lot of issues, but one of the things is a lot of businesses didn't survive. Some did open in the pandemic, but they need support. So we met with the Brooklyn Chambers of Commerce, and CACI, Caribbean American Chambers of Commerce as well. There's some funds and some grants. So we're going to organize. This is something that our former Assembly member was big on this as well, on this vision of doing a merchant association and a bid. So we are going to be working to make sure that we organize them. I did actually a walk throughout the district, and I did a small business tour. So my goal for this summer, while we're off, we're never off, right? From July to December is to walk the entire district, get all the businesses that's in there. And we have some major corridors like Church Avenue. We have Utica Avenue. Flatbush Avenue is not our district, but all those intersections need to be organized because there's a lot of money that's being left on the table because we don't know how to access it. And if you're running a business, it's hard to go to workshops and procure funds and do contracts. So I am working with those, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to work with CACI to make sure that we bring those resources to our community. And once we're organized as one, it makes it so much easier. And then we go into the commuter van, the dollar vans as well, right? So we have a lot of small business owners, and I call that a small business as well with the dollar vans to make sure they have insurance. A lot of them do not have insurance that's affordable. So they get a lot of tickets. People are trying to make an honest living, and we can't have red tape to the honest living because we don't want people out there doing the wrong thing, but they make it a challenge. Our heroes of our community are undocumented. We need to make sure that they get their citizenship done. And that's another thing that the former Assembly member, he has thousands of people. He focused on non-voters. He focused on the undocumented and made sure they got their citizenship application, and he made sure that they was done because a lot of people are getting ripped off. So we have Dalton Robinson that many of you may know that was with him for 22 years. He is in our staff as well. So we have a lot of issues that we are working on, but we're going to do it collected, united, and organized.
Oh, that's what I love to hear.
Business plan.
Yes. Let's Perry, tell me, do you have a crime and violence problem in your districts?
Yeah, we have a very heavy crime and violence problem. There's a gun problem, and there's a gun problem. And one thing about the United States is that we have a wealth of resources, and that's the reason why so many people are trying to get into the United States. Sure. They're trying to improve their qualities of life. But one of the sad things is that people come here and they're inheriting the problems that exist in these communities because some people don't have resources, right? And that's why I'm teaming up with Monique and Mercedes. We also team up with a lot of nonprofits in the neighborhood that have cure violence programs, and they're all making efforts to support families and educate the youth in the communities to make sure that they know that they have better opportunities, right? There's so many resources out there, and what the youth need is guidance so that they're not sitting idle, so that they know. That's why we have community centers. We're starting community centers. We're starting programs. Monique and Mercedes, they're in a position right now where they can bring funding to community programs so that people don't end up just left out on the street, you know, and those are the things that we want to focus on. And those are the type of things that we want to bring to the communities: resources, guidance, right? So that people have opportunities to be great. Right? We're all striving for greatness. And that's what this is for. That's what this whole movement is for. So everybody has an opportunity to be great.
Sure.
We have a number of diaspora people who have come to these very mic and have spoken to Jamaicans. I've spoken to Ronnie and myself in New York, and they have been helping Jamaicans and other Caribbeans who have come into the States, separate themselves from home, and they're doing a wonderful job. And we want to, point to them in the same way that this lady is putting to us what she's doing, because a joint community approach could make it.
Visions of progressive politics.
Indeed.
Very good. Where do the resources come from for these for this level of government? Irwine, ladies, gentlemen.
Well, listen.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead, Monique.
We have to be at the right place. Like myself, the reason I'm able to bring so much money in my community because I'm part of budget and negotiation. I just started in the city council in January, and I'm already part of budget and negotiation. You know why? Because of history, of things I have done. Yeah. I run several businesses in my community. So the first thing I did in BNT, in budget and negotiation, I got a list of all Black on all the organizations that are run by Black folks. And I make the list and I go over each and every one of them. And I go down and I say, who has problem? And they show me some of the agencies, some organizations that have problem. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud to say in FY22, I was able to secure $130,000 that Khaki was about to lose, able to infiltrate that right back to Khaki. And then now, I was able to add additional money to Khaki. It's because I was inside the budget and negotiation. If I was not there, I would not be able to do it. So lesson. I was right away.
Yeah, indeed.
Big lesson.
Being at the table, to be Absolutely. At the table, to be at the table.
There's a tendency in your context, and certainly in ours, that people say, "Sure, we can't bother with this. Let's scorn it. Let's boycott it. It doesn't make sense. You can't get change when you do that." Irwine Clare, boy, what a feast of thought and of activism you bring with us today. We're really grateful for the global connection.
What we have to do now is this, right? In all fairness to all, is to say to all our listeners, you're listening to three persons who are candidates come next week Tuesday. Voting is now, early voting is now on right now. Yes. Go out and exercise your franchise. That's what this discussion today is all about. Yeah. Going out and exercising your franchise, because when you do that, it means you're at the table. You can make decisions, and making decisions that are in our community's best interest. We want to wish our guests all the best. Nickolas A.
If we had votes, we would cast them for you many times.
Be careful now. Be careful now. Be careful now. Be careful now.
I don't want to tell too much of Mr. Irwin's business, but I ran for Boys and Girls High School, and my coach is coming. So, Team Jamaican Nickel. I know he
knows. That's right, Team Jamaica Nickel. All right.
We know that.
And don't forget, I was a track and field coach at Tilden High School.
Yes.
So thank you for your leadership. Because Penn Village is very important to give our community members opportunities, right? You brought some people over to make sure that the athletes, and that was something big that's needed. So for us to give back to our countries that we come from as well, because that Penn Relays gave a lot of our community members across the country, internationally, opportunities. So thank you for your service.
Irwine, wrap up for us.
All the best. Listen, Nickolas Perry, of course, Monique, Mercedes, Narcisse, and we just heard just now from Miss Waterman. Thank you very much, and best of wishes come next week. Gentlemen, the dialogue, as you know, is never sufficient time here on the bridge when we make these connections. But thank you very much. We'll link again next week. I know you have your closing to do, Ronnie. Of course, Mr. Chief Charles, always great talking to you. Until next week.
Wonderful to hear you. Wonderful to see such bright and beautiful young ladies
Nice to be on the
over
bridge.
there,
Yeah, man.
getting involved,
Good, and it's
fully involved.
It's a destiny of the Caribbean people, you see.
Yes,
We're large wherever we go. If only we could just conduct ourselves in that way.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Irwine. All the best to you and the folk at Irie Jam. And thanks to Acting Public Defender Herbert Mckenzie, Nickolas A. Perry, member of the State Committee, Democratic candidate for the 58th Assembly District in New York, Monique Chandler-Waterman, Assembly member, and Mercedes Narcisse. Thanks to all of the Public Eye, Open Mind, Bridge Nation listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to LaFane and to Jeffrey and all of the Romy and all of the production team here at the Bridge 99, as well as our factors and colleagues abroad. To the world, and have a great afternoon. Nicky Z's ready with the crossover. We continue the link, never to be broken. The bridge is intact. Join us again next Wednesday. Thank you, Mr. Charles.
Thank you, sir.
Till we see you again. All the best.